Hello everyone, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Be, Do Leadership, and we are here today on day 6 already of the Communication Fest, which is 30 days of tips on different aspects of communication that are going to improve your impact, your influence, and your relationships with people in work, well, outside of work as well, but let's focus on in work for the moment. And that's what we're doing for the whole of September. So if you are listening live, say hello, please do in the comments. That would be lovely to hear from you. My name's Julie Hutchison, as I said, and I'm a leadership and team performance specialist, looking at how do we improve relationships and engagement that we have with our teams and the people around us so that we get better results. So today, day 6, is a useful tool to get your point across without causing a war. And you might think that's a bit weird, but yesterday we were talking about ignoring and avoiding dealing with difficult conversations, conflict, or something you know you need to do, and that we put it to one side, hope it's going to go away, and the problem with that is just gets worse and worse and worse. And we were talking about the fact that the reason why we avoid is because we don't want the fallout, we don't want the problem. So yesterday was about the fact that we shouldn't avoid, and today was, well, how do you do it? How do you tackle things? How do you tackle behaviors and things that you need, or things that you need to say, one second, without the war, without the conflict? And so today what we want to do is to give you one tool, because we've only got 10 minutes, one tool that is going to really help you to do exactly that, to get your point across, to say what needs to be said without being all pointy fingered and passive, what I call passive aggressive. So you think about it, when you're upset, you're angry or frustrated, or you've ignored something for a while, so you've built it up in your head and you're thinking like, oh my goodness, this is a big thing. It's tricky, isn't it, not to ooze that issue, to come out with all of that and think, oh, I'm going to say it, or I'm going to come out a little bit annoyed. And the problem with that is, and this is where you get the bad response, is that when you do that, when you come out with your emotional response, it makes things worse. Yeah, you're right, you do get conflict, and you probably should worry about it. If you're going to allow yourself to come across in a certain way, that is going to put the person in a defensive mode. They're going to make them more annoyed with you. They're going to make them think, oh, I don't agree. And then you're going to have much more difficulty having the conversation. So we need to come across, if we do tackle these things, we need to come across in a way that is not passive aggressive, is not or aggressive, or let's say moany, or just a little bit narky, any of those things that makes it worse. And we need to take that out of what we say to get a better response from the other person, because we know that behavior breeds behavior, and since we're the one who wants a different outcome at the moment, we're the one who said we want a different outcome, that's why you're here, then it's our responsibility. So if we do something different, we're going to get something different. If we carry on behaving in the same way, especially if we're just reacting to their behavior, then we are just going to get the same old thing. And wasn't it the first sign of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result? So what we want to do is to take away that kind of like, you're not doing it right, you're really annoying me, or pointy fingered stuff, you know what I mean, blaming type words, and change that into something that means that person can actually listen to what you're going to say, hear what you're going to say, and respond in perhaps a better way. So if you're listening live, do comment on here, and if you're listening on replay, please put hashtag replay if you have a comment. Wonderful. So what is it then? I've talked about this many times before, but it really does form part of our 30 days, because it's a super useful tool, and it's super important in your skill in communicating with people in a way that does not do the pointy finger. So what I call this is a lovely little 3-word acronym, that is BIN. Okay, and yesterday we talked about people being in their position. What that meant was, when you see people that are like, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to listen, I'm not going to engage with you because I know I'm right, even if they're not. I know I'm right. I don't want to argue. I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to sit here fairly passively aggressive and not listen to what you've got to say. So people have a position of, well, I'm right because, and I, whatever reason is, and they have this kind of like stuck place that they are. Okay, let's call it stuck. And in order to move them from that and to try and dig underneath that and find out what that person really needs or why that person is behaving in that way so that we can get rid of that behavior, then it's useful to use this model, the bin model. And the bin model is behavior, impact, need. Now, the reason why it works is because it's non-blame, it's non-judgmental, it's honest, it's direct in that it's specific in what is the issue that you want to get over, but it does something different from the blamey language. It does something what I call set somebody up to succeed instead of set somebody up to fail. Okay, what do I mean? What I mean is when you use blamey language, pointy finger language, or you just say, I don't like it, then it's very difficult for that person to know where to go. So they may or may not accept what you say in terms of like, okay, I get you don't like it, so you're sort of halfway there. If you're not blaming, you're saying I don't like it, but you're not giving them a direction to go in afterwards. So they kind of get like, well, okay, but I don't have any alternative way of dealing with this. I don't have any alternative behavior. I don't have an alternative way of saying something. So what we need to do is we need to guide that person to a new behavior, i.e. set them up for success. And so in communicating difficult things, where we need to change something about what's going on or the way that person's behaving, then if we use this bin model, it means that that person can much, much easier take on what you've got to say, appreciate what's going on and why that's a problem, and then know what to do instead. So the 3 words: behavior, impact, need. So what we're doing here is we're explaining the behavior specifically, like when you shouted at me in the office, for example. There's a communication issue. What was the impact of that? Well, the impact was that it made me angry. I felt embarrassed. I felt like everybody could see what was going on. Whatever you want to say, but it's the impact on you, how you felt. Okay, or we can say how everybody felt. But at the moment, what we're talking about is you. Okay, and then it's I need you to X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. I need you to talk politely to me in the office or respect me, whatever those things are. So behavior, impact, and need. What's going on specifically without blame language about when this happened. So it's very factual. The impact in the middle enables somebody to really appreciate the impact that has on you rather than just it's all about them. And then what you need differently is setting them up to succeed and saying, well, this is what I want instead. Now, that is so simple, you might think that's never going to work, but it does. In my years of mediation, it does. And we use this all the time for people to explain and communicate with people how they're feeling about the thing that's happening. Yeah. So when you've got a difficult conversation, a lot of this is about how we or others, if you're talking on behalf of others, but it's about helping other people to see the other perspective. And when you do this impact, what you're laying out there in front of people is your perspective, and you're also trying to look at their perspective. So you're showing them how you feel. Now that can't be denied, can't be poo-pooed, because at the end of the day, it's how you feel. You're not judging, you're not telling them how they feel, you're not telling them who they are and what they are, which never goes down well, unless you're saying they're amazing. And so it is much less blaming, much, much softer way of doing it, but it means that the person is going to listen to what you have to say. And most people, if you do it, you might have to do it more than once and you might have to go around a little bit in circles, but if you use this technique, it will mean that eventually most people, in my experience, will listen eventually. They will start to go, okay, so they're not attacking me, they're trying to explain how they feel. And then they open up and they're much more open to listening to what you've got to say. Okay. Now as I said, we use this in mediation. I train this in my communication skills course. I train this in my leadership course because it's massively important. Okay. So if you would like to find out how to implement that and other communication, and specifically if you've got conflict, then give me a shout because we can sort that out. very easily. And if you want to learn about how to deal with conflict yourself, then again, we can show you how to do that, part of the confident communication course. So there are 24 more days of this. So if you have enjoyed this one and you're finding it useful, then please come in. We're going around 1 o'clock every day, thereabouts, some days 12:30, depending if you've got something else on. So if you click to be notified of events, that would be good. And come along and do comment and ask your questions, because if you have a specific question, and I know a couple of you, brilliant, you've added in, can you cover whatever it is you want to cover. Somebody was asking the other day about, can we cover the imposter syndrome? How do you talk to people who've got imposter syndrome? We've got a few more and I can't think of them now. So if you have a specific question, then do send me a message and I will include it in one of the 30, because I'm pretty flexible. Why not? It's good to have some other ideas. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. And like I said, if you're listening on replay, do